Chapter 17, Part 1. First Blood, First Kill. Packing up their belongings and preparing to set off to Roper Lake, Jonathan and Elisha passed out tablets. Elisha said, "We were thinking and decided to make these tablets for everyone. They can be used for entertainment or personal use, honestly, for anything. There's a real-time GPS, internet, with anti-tracking software embedded into the system. A 65.5 GHz processor, and a 25 TB hard drive with 16 TB of memory. This system is exclusively for us and totally hack-proof." Wanyanyekvu was the only one who didn't know how to operate the device, so Elisha pointed to a few buttons embedded into the screen, saying, "Click here for real-time GPS, and you'll see us, and it'll tell how long it'll take us to get there at our current speed." Pointing to blue dots on the screen, unless someone has a cloaking device, we will see them before they see us. Using his fingers to zoom in and out, "This is our destination. You see these patches of red dots here and a massive red patch here. These are other people." Wanyanyekvu was uncertain about which path to take as he looked at the tablet playing with the buttons and moving the screen. Wanyanyekvu, looking at the red dots, "Either way we go, there sure are a lot of people out here for this place to be called no man's land." Wanyanyekvu studied the device for a minute and zoomed in and out. "These are mountains, I would imagine?" Elisha replied, "Yes, and these are valleys. You see how they are formed like a U or C? We don't want to get ambushed in one of those." Studying the device, Wanyanyekvu said, "Silver City will take 2 days, so let's just head towards Silver City and see what it looks like tonight when we pitch camp." Heading west, they were in groups of 3s and arranged according to their gifts. Elisha, Joy, and Wanyanyekvu were the leading group, followed by Jome, Elijah, and Daniel, while Jonathan, Grace, and Mercy were in the rear. Looking back, Wanyanyekvu said, "You were not able to take down the buildings we created?" Elisha said, "No, they must be destroyed, but no weapons or equipment were left behind, they are just buildings." Wanyanyekvu said, "Oh no, it's not important, I was just curious." They traveled about 5 miles southwest of Kabalo Lake. Jonathan and Elisha looked at each other and then at Wanyanyekvu. "Do you remember those red dots back there?" Elisha asked. Wanyanyekvu said, "Yeah." Jonathan said, "Well, they are still moving, but they are heading our way. We have about 25 jet ships coming straight towards us heading northwest." Wanyanyekvu was looking at the tablet. "Are they the same red dots we saw earlier?" Elisha said, "We believe so." Wanyanyekvu then said, "Let's hope they are going to El Paso," Jonathan replied. "If they were going to El Paso, their speed would have dropped off miles before they got there. Look." Wanyanyekvu was already looking at the tablet as Jonathan made some adjustments to the tablet, which showed the speed the crafts were traveling. Wanyanyekvu focused on the tablet as the jet ship raced past El Paso. Wanyanyekvu looked around. "There's nowhere to hide, we are in the middle of the desert, and the mountains are." Wanyanyekvu hesitated. "Let us walk and be prepared for anything, maybe they will fly by." Jonathan zooms in closer. According to the heat signatures, these originated from Jackson, Mississippi, and stopped somewheres near Oedipus' main outpost. And now heading this way, faster than before. Jome turns to Wanyanyekvu. "I know you don't know much about these parts or my people. As I have mentioned before, this is called no man's land because of the drought of 2014 when reservoirs and other above-ground water and groundwater sources became depleted to the point that they never fully recovered. The Colorado River Basin, which they called it then, supplied water to about 40 million people and 4 to 5 million acres of farmland in 7 states, some no longer exist today. Like what once was called California, parts of Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and parts of Nevada, Utah, and Wyoming. No man dared to travel to it after that point because of the drug and other illegal activity in these parts. They're ruthless, and I mean ruthless people. I said all of that to say this. No one just flies by someone in no man's land, and besides, I truly believe that they are coming for us. Somehow, they have found us. Looking at the map again, who else would be here? We were running from him. Have you forgotten? Wanyanyekvu turns to Elisha and Jonathan. How long do we have before they get here? Looking at their tablets, Elisha said, at their current speed, roughly 25 minutes. Wanyanyekvu said, you all should know by now that Sabaoth is able. I'll let you know something in 15. Wanyanyekvu took a seat on the ground. Just before he closed his eyes, he said, Ibrahim's children, be not afraid, but this is your kill only. Sabaoth has already said that you are his chosen, so no harm shall come to you. If he said it, it will be so. Have confidence in yourself. We will sit back and watch you. I have trained all my life, and I have killed no one in my life until recently, and my first kill was very painful. You'll need to get that first kill out of the way. They all nervously said, okay. Wanyanyekvu meditated for a few moments and stood up, saying, the men shall pass by, and within minutes they will also return, they will land there. Pointing a few yards to the north of them. The big guy with the beard seems to be the leader. They want the girls and Daniels to be their sex slaves. But they want to rape you before they leave here because of their long trip from Jackson, Mississippi. They're bounty hunters, indeed, sent from Oedipus. With a sad look on his face, he looks at Grace. Grace. There's only one injury, and it looks bad, sister. Everyone speaks at one time. What? Who? He looked down. Grace, you break a nail. Everyone laughed. Wanyanyekvu then said, fight with confidence, besides, we are fighting for Sabaoth, that's why I can laugh and joke. Who can be against us when he is with us? Then he turned to Jonathan, your mouth is clean compared to theirs. Just then, the jet ships passed. Wanyanyekvu turns to Jome and Jonathan, pointing to a large rock, please, sit. The jet ships landed, and the men got off their jet ships. Just as he said it would happen, it happened. An obese man with a beard and a smile on his face said, well. Boys. Look like we have a 2-for-1. A hefty bounty and we can get some shit off our chest too, after all, look at the brand on these horses' hindquarters. Pointing at Daniel, I want the little boy first, and then I'll take. Pointing at Joy. That bitch there. Elijah was furious, but nervous simultaneously. What kind of man are you to rape boys, and my sister is not a bitch? The big guy pulled out his weapon. Well, I see. I think I'll fuck you first. Bitch. Joy interrupted and said, Elijah, I got this one. I always saw his type in those old classic movies, and I've always wanted to do this. The man turned to his men, fellows, we got a live one here. Who's after me? He unzipped his pants and pulled out his penis. Joy grabbed his penis, and the man started jerking and trembling and then fell to the ground, screaming in pain. Joy took the man's penis that she had cut off and forced it into his mouth as he screamed. While wiping the blood from her hands on his clothes, she looked up, smiled. Next. The men started shooting, but Elisha had his force field up vertically while Grace quickly ran to the back of the gang and killed 4 of the men by decapitating them with her assegai. Then she cut off the hands of those shooting while Elijah and Daniel came in for the kill. Mercy turned into a cougar, killing a man, and quickly transformed into a black mamba, striking those nearby. Once the shooting stopped, Elisha joined in. All 25 men were dead. Once the dust settled, the children of Ibrahim stood there in shock as they stood there looking at the corpses. Wanyanyekvu walked up to them, clean yourself off and be of good cheer because it was either you or them. We will never fight separately again. We shall fight as one from this day forward, but that first kill. Before he could finish speaking, Elisha and Daniel started vomiting, and the sisters cried as Elijah stood there staring at the dead bodies. Jonathan grabs Elijah, and Jome helps the rest of them the best he could, while Wanyanyekvu searches through the jet ships. Once everyone had calmed down, Wanyanyekvu called Jome and Jonathan, what is this stuff they are carrying? Jonathan looked at the men's bags, remember those tiny vials I had when I first met you? Scratching his head, well, this is 50 kilos of the same stuff worth over 5 million bitcoins just for 1 kilo, and this here is roughly 250 million bitcoins, whoever this belongs to will surely come looking for it. That's no doubt. Walking away, shaking his head, he repeated, 250 million bitcoins. I've never seen that much loot in my life. Standing there thinking, Wanyanyekvu said, since you and Jome are the only ones who know how to ride these things, let's place these bodies on top of these jet ships, and Joy, I need you to blow all this up. Jonathan said. No, leave a few for us. Jet ships, that is. Me and Elisha will do what we have to do so they can't track them, and we'll bury them for later. We will train you guys, and return later because these horses will continue to give us trouble as long as they have these brands on them. Wanyanyekvu said. Okay, do what you have to. They took 15 of the skycrafts and buried them after Jonathan and Elisha made a few modifications to them, before giving Grace the go-ahead. Grace said, just need you guys to stand back out of my way. Within seconds, she had the jet ships and the bodies piled up as high as she could, then raced toward the rest of the group. Go ahead, Joy. Joy held her hands out and blew up the jet ships and bodies with a charge of electricity. Wanyanyekvu said, let's be on our way, dead bodies don't smell too good burning. Let's try to make it as far as we can because I know there must have been tracking devices on those jet ships. Grace, I need you to backtrack every so often and erase our tracks. Grace was busy with something but replied, no problem. Wanyanyekvu said, what's that popping sound? Grace said. I broke a nail after all, holding her hand up. I'm clipping off the rest because fighting and looking good don't match. Wanyanyekvu and the rest laughed. Jonathan and Elisha monitored the activity around them and noticed nothing was coming in their direction. Wanyanyekvu asked Jome, those cube things we used before, can they be used for all of us and the horses? Jome replied, yes, but do you know how hard it is to sleep, smelling horses all night long? Wanyanyekvu said, true, but get with Elisha and Jonathan about a ventilation system or something because we still have about 25 miles, or so, before we get to the mountainous terrain. Jome said. Why not rest here, feed and water the horse, then travel at night, if it's okay with everyone else? We can use the mountains as cover at night. We can use 2 cubes side by side, one for the horses and one for us. Wanyanyekvu called everyone and asked them, and everyone agreed. They had installed the cubes by the time they reached a safe location. They ate but were weary and tired, so they called it a night. Wanyanyekvu was so tired that he was asleep when his head hit the pillow. He looked around, and it appeared as if he was in the distant past when he heard a familiar voice of a lady, speaking with power and authority, saying, except for small pockets of resistance, Sabaoth's church collectively and globally is no longer a ministry, but it is an industry. About 200 people were standing and clapping their hands as she continued. When a ministry becomes an industry, it is treated as a business. And businesses are driven by profits, not profits. By managers, not ministers. When profit becomes the motivating incentive, then corporations replace organizations. Corporations need products to sell, stocks to be purchased, and a successful marketing strategy to be effective. The church as a true corporation, redefined by the great deceiver, has turned the gospel into a product, the church body into stocks, and evangelism into a method of marketing. The crowd got up again, clapping and cheering as she continued. Ministers and preachers are now public relations managers and corporate strategists and salespersons. Broadcasts and telecasts are commercial advertising venues complete with entertainers and performers who have replaced dedicated artists and music and worship ministries. They booked ministers as motivational speakers not commissioned by God or received by pastors to preach the gospel and evangelize. Style, charisma, and image management have replaced the anointing of Sabaoth. Prominence and influence have replaced the power of the ancient Pharisee. The Holy Church is being held hostage while the harlot church takes her place. She turned and pointed at Wanyanyekvu. Cush, please come forward. Wanyanyekvu looks around and points to himself. Yes, please come forward, she said. Wanyanyekvu stands and slowly walks toward her, looking around, for everything seems strange to him. Hearing the lady, as she continues, the switch has taken place in plain sight but hidden beneath a stealth strategy of fusion through fiction. It was flawless and seamlessly carried out while the saints prayed but played. This is Babylon rising.